Hello everybody, Low2 for Life here, bringing you guys a brand new deck profile, and today we are going to cover good old Superheavy Samurais before they get their really busted wave of support in the next set. Cyberstorm Access, I think is what it's called. I can't remember. I am not looking forward to seeing what they're going to do to rarity bump those cards. Good lord, I can see that one's a level 4 Pendulum Monster being a secret rare already. But anyways, before that, I love this deck so much, and I just wanted to cover them, talk about them, show what the deck can do even before that new support, because the deck has some really cool plays. Is it any good? Under the previous format, I would say for sure no. It had a terrible tier limit matchup like most rogue decks did. Now in the current format with good old Kashtira and everything, and trying to keep up with it, as long as you side deck properly, which is a lot harder for this deck, maybe. I haven't really played against Kashtira with this deck, but going against other rogue decks, going against other like lower tier non-meta decks or like more roguish decks like Marincess and stuff, this deck can put in some good work, and it's just a personal fan favorite of mine. It's gonna get so busted once they get their new support in Cyberstorm Access though. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about it. So first and foremost, we got triple of Superheavy Samurai Wagon. This guy's really cool and is very important for the deck. So whenever he is normal summoned or special summoned, I believe both, yeah. Whenever it's normal or special summoned, you can change his battle position. This is really helpful because you can shove him straight into defense on normal summon, which of course is what the deck wants to focus on, being in defense. But even more than that, it helps you get his effect off, where if he's in defense position, you can switch him into attack mode and search out one of these Superheavy Samurai Soul cards. The Superheavy Samurai Soul cards effectively being your spells and traps. If you don't know going into this, Superheavy Samurais do not use spells and traps. The only really way to really use them effectively is if you can remove them from the graveyard after using them. So you basically have to use spells and traps that can remove themselves, like Sekka's Light, which I don't recommend for a reason I will get to at the end of it. And then there's other cards like, oh god, what was that one? I remember it. It's a trap card, lowers the levels of monsters. It was really trolly to use back when this deck was first coming out, because you could use it to mess with Xyz's place. Might be good for this Kashtira matchup because, hey, you can make all your stuff level 6, but I digress. Talking about this though, Wagon is really good. He's one of your big starters. You want to get him to get into your other stuff, most notably the most broken of the Superheavy Samurai Soul cards, Superheavy Samurai Soul Piercer. This guy has a few different effects. Once per turn while it's in your hand or in the monster zone, you can equip it onto a Superheavy Samurai monster. While it's equipped, that monster gets piercing, which is really cool. But, however, the best part about this card is that when it is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to search for any Superheavy Samurai monster. That is not once per turn. And that is the big thing that I gotta make very abundant with this card, and with this deck in general, is that a lot of your plays, you generally want to try and abuse this card ad nauseum. Like, you want to abuse it so much, because the more you can abuse this card and the more you can be able to get your searching going, the just more advantage you're able to get. And advantage is never bad. So I really do recommend playing this card as a 3-of, along with the Wagon, so that you can get to this guy as soon as possible, so that then you can get into your Link plays, your Synchro plays, your Xyz plays. And there's so many different ways to get to him and Wagon that it's ridiculous. Next up, we got one of our other big combo enablers, Superheavy Samurai Scales. This guy's pretty cool. If there are 2 or more monsters on the field and you control none, you can special summon. Sorry, if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and you control none, you can special summon them from your hand, effectively making him like a Cyber Dragon. Whenever he is normal or special summoned, you can target one of your Superheavy Samurais in your graveyard, special summon it. And I believe it has to be, yeah, level 4 or lower. So this guy's one of your big play enablers. You can revive your tuners, you can revive your Your Soul Piercer is the big one. You can revive. If they ever make a level 4 synchro, you could do that. Oh god, can we please get a level 4 Super Heavy Samurai synchro? That would be wonderful. But I digress. This guy's really good. You want to play 3 of them, especially whenever you gotta go second, and he's just wonderful. Next up, I'm playing 3 of the Trumpeter. Now, Trumpeter is debatably the best tuner for now. The deck does get better tuner access whenever we get the new stuff, but Trumpeter is still, I would argue, the best one for this more combo-focused build. If you are playing the Kaiju build, which might actually be better in the Kashtira format, so that might be something worth check out. If you're playing the Kaiju build, Battle Ball is undeniably a better version, because Battle Ball can use the Kaijus you give your opponent to cheese into the synchros. But without considering that as just the base synchros, I mean the base tuners, this guy is your best. He's got 2 effects. Well, yeah, 2 effects really. 2 effects in a condition. If you control a Super Heavy Samurai and you got, if you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. After it was special summoned this way, you are locked into Super Heavy Samurai monsters. That is something very important to keep in mind, and is unfortunate because it does lock you into Super Heavies, which is, of course, the big problem with it. And then, if it's tributed for the tribute summon of a Super Heavy Samurai monster, you can special summon it, provided you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard. It's pretty basic. I don't really ever use the second effect, where if like it's tributed for the tribute summon, you can special summon it. That does come up once in a blue moon, where like you do have to tribute summon Big Ben K or General Jade, but that again does not come up often, because usually we're cheesing those guys out and then immediately using them for synchro plays. But every now and then it does come up, and when it does, it is handy having that effect. The main thing you use him for is using him for the free special summon to go into your synchro plays. You can also get them out through other card effects, so that then you can get your synchro plays into good old non-Super Heavy Samurai monsters. But that's not as common or as easy to do as it is for just going into the Super Heavy Samurai monsters. Next up, we got arguably the second best of the Super Heavy Samurai Soul cards. Maybe even arguably the third best. It really comes down to who you ask. Super Heavy Samurai Soulfire Suit has a few different effects, but the main one that matters is that as a quick effect, you can discard it. Target one defense position Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, drop its defense by 800, but for the rest of the turn, it cannot be destroyed by card effects. This is so important to protect your big boss monster, and most notably Susanoo and Steam King Train, but this guy, it's just so important to be able to have him to protect your stuff. You can also use him for some niche synchro plays, because if you equip him onto one of your Super Heavy Samurais, its level becomes 5, which can come up once in a blue moon, but it's not like super necessary. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Soul Peacemaker. This thing, you equip it onto one of your Super Heavies and turns it into Lone Fire. You tribute it, and then you can summon any Super Heavy from your deck. This card is really good and effectively makes it so that you have 6 wagons or 6 Soul Piercers. It really comes down to whichever you happen to have and what you need to get to. It's also really nutty if you have Soul Piercer out on the field as a monster instead of an equipped card. You can equip it onto the Soul Piercer, tribute it for like scales, and then you get your scales effect to special summon, like for instance your Soul Piercer, and you also get your Soul Piercer's effect to search, which can then of course get you out Soul Piercer back after you bring it back with scales, link it off, sync it off, whatever, get another search off the Piercer. It's ridiculous just how much advantage you can get off of it. Next up, we got Super Heavy Samurai Magnets. This guy's Marauding Captain. That's the main thing, is that he's another play starter, play enabler. You normal summon him. You can special summon one of your Super Heavy Samurais that's level 4 or lower from your hand. And then I believe this changes himself to defense after doing that. Yep. And then Oh yeah, by the way, also monsters have to attack him if he's in defense. I mean, that's not relevant. Being 100% honest. It could be if you ever want to go for one of those funny locks and get out 2 of them so your opponent can't attack anybody, but that doesn't really ever come up. You mainly like normal summon him, go for a Synchro or an Xyz play right away, or a Link play, of course. And then we got Super Heavy Samurai Flutist. Flutist is really cool for a few different reasons. For one thing, he's a level 3, and that means that you can use him alongside Trumpeter to make stuff like Naturia Beast or your level 5 Synchro. Again, it doesn't come up super often, but that is something you can do. More importantly though, he does have 2 really good effects. First effect is that you can tribute him, summon any Super Heavy Samurai from your hand. This is mainly intended to get like Big Bang K out without having to tribute a bunch of stuff. Pretty simple. But then also on top of that, you can, if he's in your graveyard, if your opponent activates a card or effect that targets one of your Super Heavy Samurai monsters, you can banish him from your graveyard, negate that effect, and destroy that card. This thing is so nutty. I love it. Now, onto the Big Bang K. I only played one of them. He's not a good draw. He's not a particularly good card. Do not play more than one. I cannot recommend that enough. Do not play more than one. This card, he used to be like the boss monster of the deck, but he's not anymore. Sure, it's cool that he lets all your Super Heavy Samurais attack while in defense position and apply their defense instead of their attack, but that's not relevant. That's not relevant. You play him for his level, and that's pretty much it. He can also occasionally be a really strong beater, being a 3,500 defense, which means he can, since he's attacking in defense, 3,500 attacker, which can also, of course, put a lot of damage on board and apply pressure to your opponent. So it does matter to some extent, but like you don't typically leave him out on the field. You're sinking with him. But I digress. And for our final Super Heavy Samurai, we do have one Super Heavy Samurai, Jade, General Jade. I'm probably going to bump him up or maybe keep him as a one-of whenever we get the new stuff. But one General Jade I have found to be really helpful because, very simply put, he's another copy of Benkei, but you can normal summon him for 1 tribute instead of 2. So if you ever do get stuck with him, it's just helpful. So it's like, okay, here we go, got that going. So yeah, I digress. He's just basically another Big Benkei. If you wanted to, you could actually play 2 Big Benkei, but I like 1 Jade just for having that. And his pendulum effect isn't horrible, but it doesn't come up like ever either. Now that's everything for the Super Heavy Samurai half. And of course, as you could tell from the title, this is not just pure Super Heavy Samurais, but it's a Vernusylph build, which I gotta say the Vernusylphs are the biggest like upgrade to this deck until their actual proper support comes out, like ever. So first up, we got Vernusylph of the Falling Mountains. You know what all the Vernusylphs do, but just as a crash course, you can discard them and one other monster. They do their own individual effect, and then you can summon an Earth monster from your graveyard. If you do, you're locked into Earths for the rest of the turn, if I remember right. Yeah, you are locked. Yeah, you can't. No, you aren't locked, technically speaking, but you cannot activate non-Earth monster effects. You might as well be locked into Earths. So anyways, this one first, the bear, whenever you discard him, his unique effect is that you get to draw a card. He does also have the ability to make it so that a Vernusylph can attack twice, but that like doesn't come up. You use them as combo pieces. The big thing is, of course, the discard and draw and then special summon. It's ridiculous just how much consistency this guy adds to the deck, and honestly, if I could play like 9 copies of him, I would. And then we got the next one, which is Vernusylph of the Awakening Forests. This guy's pretty cool. So you you discard him, discard another monster, and then you get to send a Earth monster that can be normal summoned or set from your deck to the graveyard. This is really good because it's very just helpful in that you get to load up your graveyard, you get to send a Flutist to the graveyard, which is really good because that's where you want them. But then also, of course, you get to summon a Earth monster that's not the one that you sent from your deck to graveyard out on the field. So that's typically the guy that you discarded. Discarding this along with a Soul Piercer to send a Flutist is just godly, and I love it. Next up, we got the Duck, which is the one that people used during the days of the Vernusylph build of the tier limit. I was just drawing a blank there. Anyways, the duck. All monsters on the field lose 600 attack except for Vernusylphs, and then whenever you discard him and another dude, you get to add an Earth Fairy from your deck to your hand. You basically discard him and another dude to search out any of the other ones. It's helpful and it is effectively like playing one extra copy of the others, but it's not as useful as the sending and the drawing effect. And then of course there's also, I play 2 of the Flowering Hills. I cannot read that. I'm sorry for the glare. I'm going to do something about that on the next video. But I digress. Anyways, so Flowering Hills, it's effectively the same thing as the duck. It searches out for any Vernusylph card, but of course we're not playing any of the spells or traps or the big boss, who's really not all that great. So yeah, we just use her as another version of the duck to be able to search out for anything we need. So that's all the Vernusylphs. Now, moving on to our hand traps, which is our main source of backup for this deck. First up, we got Triple Ash Blossom. Pretty self-explanatory. It's like the best. It's like the best one of all hand traps. 2 Ghost Ogre, and then 2 Effect Failure. That's it for the main deck in terms of the hand traps. However, you could also, depending on like what your locals looks like, or if you want to really like try to make this like super serious and take to tournaments and stuff, you can also of course play Nibiru and the one that like lets you like gain life points and stuff, or the one that like negates and burns. Those are all great too. I do not recommend playing the Bitchutes in the main deck. I recommend siding those, especially in the current format, but that's up to you, and also of course what your locals looks like. My locals is very Kashtira heavy, so it's like there's not much of a point in playing the Bitchutes in the main deck. So these guys I find to be all very helpful because, of course, you got the negate, you got the destruction, and you got the other negate. You could also totally like drop out the ogres for a 3rd effect filler and for something else, or maybe try to squeeze in room for one. I think it's Ghost Mortar is the one that like negates and then burns, right? I can't remember off the top of my head. I digress. You can also, of course, play other more niche hand traps because you are locked into monsters only. You can play other more niche hand traps like Skullmeister, Wadapon, if like, you got a random burn deck going around, or anything else like that. Those all I would recommend in the side deck, not in the main deck. Kaijus and Raw Sphere mode are also your best friend, and I do recommend those in the side deck, unless you are playing the hardcore going second Kaiju build, where you are playing a crap ton of Kaijus and Battle Ball to just be able to Kaiju, Battle Ball Synchro, and do fun stuff. This is the Vernusylph, like, more combo-oriented build, though, so that's just an option as well. Moving on to the extra deck. First and foremost, we got triple Super Heavy Samurai Scarecrow. This card is busted. Like, just being 100% honest. So it needs any non-link Super Heavy Samurai monster. Yeah, it could be any Super Heavy Samurai monster, but it cannot be used for a link summon, so you can't do cheesy stuff like that. Once per turn, you can discard a card, target a Super Heavy Samurai, special summon it. I believe, does it have to be to zone it points to? Yeah, it has to be 2 to zone it points to in defense position. And then while you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, Scarecrow, you don't take any damage from battles involving it, which is just a godsend because it's a 0 attack point monster. So he really is a Scarecrow, and I like how it's made up of a lot of the little Super Heavy Samurai souls. Like you can see the Claw guy, I think that's Soul Piercer over here, and then he's made out of that like one like really bad armor card. Really just busted link monster for the deck. I really wish they'd get like more because this one is just so good for the deck. But I digress. This thing's amazing. The comboing you can do with it, just being and then just this absurdity. It's partly because of this thing that Soul Piercer is so broken, because you can totally go normal summon Soul Piercer, link off for this, search, effect, discard a dude like Flutist, spell summon Soul Piercer, spell summon Trumpeter, sync 6, search, and just keep searching. It's so ridiculous. With a really good hand, and depending on like if I also open scales and stuff, you can easily get like 2 to 3 searches off of one Soul Piercer. It's ridiculous. I love it. Now then, onto the rest of the Super Heavy Samurai extra deck. I do play one Super Heavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi. On summon, he recurs a Super Heavy Samurai from your graveyard. Actually, I think it's any Earth machine, right? Any one machine from your graveyard to your hand, he can attack on defense, so he's a 2300 beater. And then we got one Suten Doji. This guy on Synchro Summon destroys all of your opponent's back row, which is just ridiculous, and I love it. Because, hey, back row heavy decks are like really absurd right now and are running around. So you could actually also really play 2 if you really wanted to, especially with how prevalent back row heavy decks are at the moment. Then we got one Super Heavy Samurai Stealth Ninja. This guy's pretty cool. He can, I believe, yeah, this is the attack directly guy. It does half damage. And then, oh, if it's destroyed by a card effect, you can summon it from your graveyard during the next standby phase. So you got some recursion there, and it's a beefy boy at 2800. And then we got Super Heavy Samurai Ninja Sarutobi. This guy, quick effect, can destroy a spell or trap card on the field, I believe. Does it have to be face up? No, it can just be any spell or trap card, and then you get to burn your opponent for 500, so he can win you in game, which is wonderful. He's not hard to make either, and honestly, he's probably the best ninja between him and Stealth Ninja, but I digress. 2800 attack too, like same damage count. Then we got our OTK enabler, Kyubi. This guy gets a whopping, I believe, yeah, 400 defense, so no, 900 defense for each specimen monster your opponent controls. So he's our OTK enabler guy, and he can just get so beefy. 2500 base, and with just even like a few monsters out, he can get up to like 4k. And then of course, obviously, you'll want to like equip him with stuff to give him piercing if you need to. You could also play the damage, the defense booster equip cards. I actually used to until I dropped them for more hand traps, but you could play them if you want to. Like Big Bang Shot is my usual go-to. I think I actually, yeah, sorry, Soul Bang Cannon, that's it. Soul Bang Cannon's a really good one to equip onto him. You can boost them by 1,000, so that's just even more. And then Soul Bang also has a really good battle phase effect. I really want to squeeze this in back, but like the Vernusylph engine just takes up so much, and then we gotta play hand traps, so I digress. Then we got our main boss monster, Warlord Susanoo. This thing is so good and allows you to do some really cheeky things with your side deck depending on what your locals looks like. So as a quick effect, if you have no spell or trap cards in your graveyard, you can target a spell or trap card in your opponent's graveyard, set it to your field, and then it gets banished if you use it. Also, of course, if he's in defense, he can attack while on defense. But even if he gets forced into attack mode, he's got 2400 attack, which isn't terrible. But hey, you want him in defense because 3800 is a lot. So what makes this thing so cool? Well, for one thing, your opponent's spells are yours now. So you can steal stuff like Regeki, like Pot of Prosperity. You can steal stuff like Monster Reborn. A lot of that stuff. But where the really cheekiness comes into is what you can do with the side deck. Because, like, so back when this guy came out, he came out in Secrets of Eternity, I think is what it was. The one with, like, Rune Eyes dragon on it. And this guy, I was able to get some tops at my locals with Super Heavies because I sided in Shaddoll stuff in the side deck and like Shaddoll monsters and played them in my extra deck because you get locked in anyway. So I would steal my opponent's Shaddoll fusion and then use it and be able to like fusion stuff. Now, Shaddoll still occasionally see a bit of play here and there, but obviously now we got the branded stuff, so like, if you want, you could totally side in branded stuff, steal your opponent's branded fusion, make a Mirror Jade using it, and then it gets banished so they can't get it back. You know, just be a dick to your opponent. I love it. This card is amazing. He's still my favorite Super Heavy Samurai monster, and the main reason I keep coming back to this deck. I love it. On to our last Super Heavy Samurai Synchro, and well, extract monster in general. We have Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. This guy is pretty nutty. He does need 2 or more dudes to go into. Yeah, 2 or more non-tuner Super Heavy Samurais. He can attack while he's in defense. He's got 4800, which is just ridiculous. And then he's got a few different effects. So you can attack on defense, obviously. And then once per turn, you can discard up to 2 cards, then target that many cards you put in controls, destroy them, so you can destroy 1 or 2 cards. And then once per turn, you can banish all spell or trap cards from the graveyards, and then do 200 damage to your opponent for each card banished. That can stack up a lot, and I just really like this guy, especially in certain matchups where like your opponent wants their stuff or recycles them. So like for instance against Labyrinth or Eldritch, you can just get rid of all their stuff in the graveyard so they can't just keep cycling them. Very, very good card. I wish both of his effects were a quick effect. It would make him so much better. The fact that he's not a quick effect for how much you have to put into him. He is a level 12 synchro. You will not be making him every single time you try to sync into him and stuff. It just doesn't come up enough. But he is a really powerful boss monster if you do get him out. I just wish his effects were quick effects. On to the non-Superheavy Samurai stuff, which again we can't really play much because a lot of archetype blocking, but I digress. First up we got one Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend. I'm playing him because just in case we go into time, we can make him and then burn and then, you know, win through a cheesy way. You can also do that with Ninja Saratobi. And then, of course, the bigger synchro that like we want to play is good on that Chariot Beast. Everything's Earth in this deck except for Soulfire Suit and like some of the hand traps. So you can pretty much make him super, super easy. You can also play Barkion in this deck super easily as well because you have so many level 4s. And actually, with as many trap decks running around, I would probably switch out the Scarlight with Barkion. I didn't think about that until I was sitting here recording, and I don't even know if I have a Barkion, so we're just gonna roll with it. Moving on, for Xyz monsters, 1 Daigusto Emerald. You can just get so much value off of this card. 1 Geargingen X because, hey, everybody's machine. And then 1, just for the odd blue moon that it happens, 1 number 38, Hope Harbinger, Dragon, Titanic Galaxy. I just butchered his name horrible. Wait, no, I did get it right. Hope Harbinger, Dragon, Titanic Galaxy. I could have sworn I thought they were switched around. Anyways, yeah, he's just a spell negate. So, yeah, you can also play any other rank 8s. Rank 8s, like, aren't super relevant, too, but, like, the extra deck pull that are not Superheavy Samurais is super flexible because you don't have to worry about archetype blocking. So, there's that. And that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first deck profile after getting back into the swing of things. I am very winded. I have not talked this much in ages. And I want to get back into making YouTube videos, YouTube content, and all that stuff. It's been too long, and I need to get back into my swing of things and my outlets. So anyways, thank y'all for watching. Have a great day. Rate, comment, and subscribe. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. If you got any ideas, recommendations, or concerns regarding Superheavy Samurai Vernusylph build, let me know down below, and see y'all later. Peace out. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider rating, commenting, and subscribing. Sharing the video helps as well. If you especially really like it, please do consider being a channel member. Every little bit helps out. And hey, also why not check me out on my other social media pages. Thank you, and have a great day.